Hey everyone, this is Ash from Creative Mending, and today I'm bringing you this unboxing video of this Harbor Freight Central Pneumatic Airbrush Kit. I'm really excited because I bought this kit years ago and I never got to make this video, but I've seen quite a few people recommending this on some of the groups that I'm in as an affordable option for getting started with airbrushing, and I completely agree. If you're interested in starting airbrushing, this is a really affordable option, and it's something that's pretty heavyweight. You won't feel like you're gonna break it. You can also buy this airbrush compressor by itself. The reason I buy the kit is because this additional hose here that is not coiled like the one without the airbrush set is around $8 to $10, so you kind of save yourself the money, and then it's nice to kind of have this extra airbrush as doing a sealant or something like that. When I first got started, I was originally using just this airbrush, but I work on dolls. It was a little bit better for me to buy something else. You can grab the Iwata Neo from Hobby Lobby, and it usually ranges like $49.99. You can use the Hobby Lobby coupon, at least I was able to a few years ago. I don't know if that's changed. I have two of those. One I use for sealant, one I use for color. Now, with this airbrush kit, and any of the compressors from Harbor Freight, you cannot use the coupon. So just keep that in mind. So in here, you're gonna have your manual, and it does help to take a look at this with all the different airbrush compressors. Some of them have filters, some of them don't. I don't know all the technicalities. I went to a specific website, Don's Airbrush Tips, and I'll leave a link for him in the video for you in the comments because he has a lot of great information. In fact, he was the one that helped me whenever I was struggling with my Neo airbrush. I thought it was something wrong with the airbrush, and come to find out, no, it was me. So I will be making a video specifically about the comparison between the airbrush that comes in this kit and the Neo airbrush that I regularly use, and that video will be coming here pretty soon in the coming weeks. So here is our non-coil tube. I just really prefer this one. It's a really good material. It lasts a long time, so it's worth having that around. And in here will be everything else. So let's take a look first at the little airbrush kit that comes in here. So the airbrush that comes with the kit is actually a siphon-fed airbrush. I eventually found out that I benefit most from a gravity-fed airbrush. It's pretty heavy duty. I think it's really great for starters, and it doesn't feel that uncomfortable when you're pulling everything apart, which is nice. And they give you your little mixing cup, and then you have this little guy if you have like a larger amount of paint you want to throw out all at once. And then there's a few little tools and gadgets, and this is so that you can hook your airbrush. It's like your little holder basically. This one did last me a while. The only reason I ended up moving from this airbrush was because out of my own ignorance, I completely destroyed it because I did not know how to mix my paints yet. So yeah, I mean, it is a really good airbrush if you want to get started and make your mistakes. Good option right here, because then you don't feel so nervous about messing up a really nice airbrush. And then in here we have our airbrush compressor. I know some people's concern with their airbrush compressor is the noise. I will go ahead and plug this in and show you an example of how this guy sounds. It's really quiet. I used to actually do airbrush compressing in the middle of the night more than often, and I never really had any issues with waking up any family members, so that's kind of a good thing. So here you have your compressor. It's got a nice little handle, and then you have your filter, and generally whenever you're using it, you use it for so long of a time, and this will start to build up with your moisture, and then whenever it starts getting crazy, you can just release this and it'll let out some of that air. And the gauge is just really useful for as you're learning the distance of your airbrush, the detail that you're trying to get, you'll start to work with this a little bit more often. I have seen some people complain about the fact that this airbrush compressor runs, it holds, and then it sort of steadily drops. So you do have to kind of learn how to work with it. But in terms of affordability, I'm okay with that. I'm gonna go ahead and get this all unwrapped, and then I'm gonna plug it in and run it for you guys really quick. So let's go ahead and use the airbrush that they've given us. It's really quite simple to get set up right out of the box. The thing I struggled most with was actually just my paint ratio. So definitely look online and you'll get some good information about how you can get a good consistency for your paints or your sealants and things like that. You just screw this right on. Now, if I turn this on right away, there's nothing that's going to be holding back the air. So it's just going to keep running. All right. So what we want to do is go ahead and put our airbrush in here. Really quick setup. All right. So now when we run our compressor, it's going to stop, and this will help hold the air. Ta-da! So it's going to hit that 60, and that's generally where it's going to stop. And at this point, when I go to use my airbrush, you'll see it's going to drop just a little bit. So you have to kind of, you'll start to get used to, okay, how much time do I need to get this detail down? See that? Once it hits a certain point, it's going to start popping back up. So you don't actually get a consistent 58 PSI unless you know how to keep it there. You're playing with it. It's going to drop down to about a 40, and that might not be an issue for you. It's really not that big of an issue for me, and I work on really small stuff. But it just matters on how you're trying to get your coverage and really just getting used to adjusting your distance as you notice these differences in your pressure. And I'm going to go ahead and just keep that running for a second so you guys can get a feel for how loud it is. I do have a small heater running in the background, and sometimes I think they're actually pretty much equal in the loudness. Now once you start to drop, of course it's going to be a little bit quieter. It's going to refill. See that? And I'll just give you one more of those. So there you have it. Really, I conclude that this is a great airbrush compressor kit. Just to get started, you won't feel too bad about breaking this thing, and you can get used to the way that it works. It's really useful for all sorts of projects. I've used it for covering whole entire large areas. I've used it for doing smaller details on my dolls, and it's really affordable. This thing has lasted me for years. The only reason I bought another one is because I've moved and my old one is at my old home. So I just wanted two in two different places because they are that useful to have around. Thank you so much for watching this video today. I truly appreciate it. I hope you'll leave a comment in the comment box, and definitely like and subscribe because I'm going to be making a lot more videos like this, trying to help everybody out there get inspired and understand that you do not have to spend a bunch of money to make art.